I'm 26 years old, and yesterday I ended a 9-month relationship over a black screen on Instagram. When I say it like that, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like I'm the immature one, like I threw away something good over nothing. But let me tell you what that black screen really represented, and maybe you'll understand why I finally had enough. It started like any other Tuesday. I was at work, actually focused for once, deep into a project that had been eating up my brain space for weeks. My phone was face down on my desk because I've learned that's the only way I can get anything done. No notifications. No distractions. Just me and my work, the way it should be. I didn't check Instagram. I didn't check anything. I was productive. I was present. I was doing what responsible adults do during work hours. Around 3 in the afternoon, I picked up my phone to check the time and saw I had 17 missed messages. 17. My stomach dropped because that many messages usually mean someone died or there's an emergency. I unlocked my phone with shaking hands, already preparing myself for bad news. They were all from her. My girlfriend. Well, ex-girlfriend now. And none of them were about an emergency. At least not the kind that matters in the real world. Did you see my story? Hello? Seriously? I can't believe you're ignoring me right now. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And on and on and on. Each message more accusatory than the last. Each one dripping with this passive-aggressive energy that I'd become way too familiar with over the past 9 months. I felt that familiar tightness in my chest, that feeling of walking into a room and knowing you've somehow done something wrong but having absolutely no idea what it is. I opened Instagram, feeling like a student who forgot there was a test today. Her story was still up. Just a black screen. Completely black. And underneath it, in white text that somehow managed to look accusatory, "Some people really disappoint you, LOL." That's it. That was the whole thing. No context. No explanation. Just a vague statement thrown into the void for her 300 followers to see and speculate about. And apparently, I was supposed to immediately know it was about me. I was supposed to drop everything, ignore my actual job, and rush to ask her what was wrong like some kind of mind-reading boyfriend superhero. I stared at that black screen for a solid minute. I read those 6 words over and over, trying to find some hidden meaning, some clue that would tell me what I'd done wrong this time. But there was nothing. Just emptiness and accusation wrapped up in a passive-aggressive package with a LOL slapped on the end to make it seem casual. I didn't message her right away. I'll admit that. I put my phone back down and finished my work because I'm an adult with responsibilities and bills to pay. I figured if it was actually about me, she'd tell me when I got home. If it was about one of her friends or her job or her family, she'd tell me when I got home. Either way, I wasn't going to play detective over a cryptic Instagram story in the middle of my workday. That was apparently the wrong choice. The failing choice. The choice that proved I didn't love her enough. When I got home that evening, she was sitting on my couch with her arms crossed, her face set in that expression I'd come to dread. You know the one. That look that says you screwed up and I'm waiting to see if you even know what you did. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying, but her jaw was tight with anger. It was a combination I'd seen too many times before. Oh, she said, her voice dripping with wounded sarcasm. You finally decided to come home. I set my bag down slowly, already exhausted, and we hadn't even started whatever fight this was going to be. I came home at my normal time, I said carefully. Same time I come home every day. You saw my story, she said. It wasn't a question. It was an accusation. Yeah, I said. I saw it. The black screen. And what? It was a black screen with a vague caption. I assumed it was about one of your friends or work or something. Her eyes widened like I'd just admitted to a crime. You assumed it wasn't about you? You didn't even think to check in with me? To ask if I was okay? I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice level. If something was wrong, I figured you'd tell me. We live together. I was going to see you in a few hours anyway. I didn't think I needed to drop everything at work to decode a cryptic Instagram story. That's when she said it. The thing that made everything click into place. The thing that made me realize I'd been playing a game I never signed up for. It was a test, she said, and she said it like it was obvious. Like testing your partner through social media was a completely normal and reasonable thing to do. I wanted to see if you cared enough to check in. If you'd notice when something was wrong. And you failed. A test. She had posted a vague, passive-aggressive story to Instagram as a test. To see if I'd jump through the right hoops. To see if I'd perform my love for her in the exact way she wanted, at the exact time she wanted, without any actual communication about what was wrong. I felt something snap inside me. Not in an angry way, but in a clarity way. Like a fog lifting. Like finally seeing the pattern that had been right in front of me for months. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You posted something vague on Instagram, didn't tell me directly that something was wrong, and then got upset when I didn't immediately figure out it was about me and message you during work hours. You should want to check in, she said, and her voice broke a little. You should care enough to ask. That's what people do when they love someone. No. I said, and I was surprised by how calm my voice sounded. That's not what people do. What people do is communicate. Like adults. With words. Direct words. Not vague Instagram stories that could mean anything or nothing. She started crying then. Real tears, not the angry kind but the hurt kind. And I felt bad. Of course I felt bad. I'm not a monster. But I also felt tired. So incredibly tired. Tired of walking on eggshells. Tired of trying to solve puzzles I didn't know existed. Tired of being tested and failing tests I never agreed to take. This is exactly what I mean, she said through her tears. You're so cold. So emotionally unavailable. You don't even care that you hurt me. I do care that you're hurt, I said. But I can't read your mind. I can't know that a black screen on Instagram is about me unless you tell me. That's not being cold. That's being human. It's not about mind reading, she said, her voice getting louder. It's about being attentive. It's about caring enough to check in when your girlfriend posts something sad. How is some people really disappoint you lol sad? I asked. It's passive-aggressive. There's a LOLs at the end. It could literally be about anyone or anything. Your coworker who didn't bring donuts. Your friend who cancelled plans. A celebrity who said something dumb. How was I supposed to know it was some kind of coded distress signal meant specifically for me? We went back and forth like this for maybe an hour. Her crying and accusing. Me trying to explain that I'm not a mind reader and that if she has a problem with me, she needs to actually tell me instead of broadcasting it to Instagram and waiting to see if I notice. She called me emotionally unavailable. I called her manipulative. She said I was supposed to just know. I said that's not how relationships work. And then it hit me. This wasn't the first time. This was just the most obvious time. This was just the time when she actually admitted it was a test instead of making me feel crazy for not understanding her secret language. There was the time 3 months ago when she posted song lyrics about being unappreciated, and I didn't comment on them. She didn't talk to me for 2 days, then finally exploded about how I didn't even acknowledge her feelings. I'd asked her what feelings, what was wrong, and she'd said I should have known from the lyrics she posted. From the lyrics. To a song. That could have been about literally anything. There was the time she posted a selfie with the caption "feeling lonely" when I was literally in the next room working on a project for a client. She got mad that I didn't immediately stop what I was doing to cuddle her, even though she never actually came into the room or asked me to take a break. She just posted about feeling lonely and expected me to drop everything. There was the time she posted when he doesn't text back with a series of eye roll emojis. I'd been at the gym for an hour. 1 hour. Without my phone. And apparently that was worthy of a public call-out to all her followers, most of whom I knew personally. When I got home and asked her about it, she said she was just joking around, but then spent the rest of the evening giving me the silent treatment. Every time I didn't pass one of her invisible tests, there were consequences. Mood swings. Silent treatments. Passive-aggressive comments. And every time I tried to talk about it, she'd either deny it was about me at all or tell me I was overreacting. She'd make me feel crazy for thinking her vague posts might be about me, right up until the moment she'd get mad that I didn't realize they were about me. It was exhausting. Constantly second-guessing. Constantly trying to decode hidden messages. Constantly walking on eggshells, afraid that any minute I might fail some test I didn't know I was taking. Standing there in my living room, watching her cry because I failed her Instagram test, I realized something important. I didn't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to spend my life trying to be psychic. I didn't want to check social media every 5 minutes to make sure my girlfriend wasn't posting coded messages that I needed to respond to immediately. I didn't want to live in constant fear of failing tests I never agreed to take. I can't do this, I said quietly. She looked up at me, tears still streaming down her face. Can't do what? Care about me? Show basic concern? I can't be in a relationship where I'm constantly being tested, I said. Where I have to decode vague social media posts to prove I love you. Where you won't just talk to me directly when something's wrong. I can't live like this. It's not healthy. For either of us. So you're breaking up with me? She said it like she couldn't believe it. Like the idea that there would be consequences for her behavior was completely foreign. Over one small thing? It's not one small thing, I said, and I felt something settle in my chest. A certainty. A clarity I hadn't felt in months. It's all the small things. All the tests. All the games. All the times you've made me feel like I'm failing at being your boyfriend because I can't read your mind. I'm not asking you to read my mind, she protested. I'm asking you to care. I do care, I said. But caring doesn't mean I should have to solve a puzzle every day just to avoid a fight. Caring doesn't mean I have to monitor your Instagram stories like it's my job. Caring means we talk to each other. Directly. Honestly. Without games. She stood up from the couch, her whole body shaking. You're really going to do this? You're really going to throw away 9 months over this? I'm not throwing away anything, I said. I'm choosing peace over chaos. I'm choosing healthy communication over mind games. I'm choosing to not spend my life walking on eggshells. I started packing my stuff. I didn't have much at her place, thankfully. Some clothes. My toothbrush. A few books. She followed me around, alternating between crying and arguing. Telling me I was heartless. Telling me I was giving up too easily. Telling me every relationship has problems and I was being unreasonable. But every word she said just confirmed I was making the right choice. Because even now, even as I was packing to leave, she couldn't see what she'd done wrong. She couldn't understand that testing your partner through cryptic social media posts isn't normal or healthy. She couldn't grasp that actual communication requires actually communicating, not broadcasting vague feelings into the void and waiting to see who cares enough to ask about them. I finished packing and headed for the door. She grabbed my arm, her eyes desperate now. Please, she said. We can work on this. I can change. I don't want you to change, I said, and I meant it. I want you to find someone who wants to play these games. Someone who enjoys decoding your Instagram stories and being tested constantly. That's just not me. I want something real. Something simple. Something where we just talk to each other. I left. I got in my car and drove to my friend's place where I'd be crashing for a while. And as I drove, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. I felt light. I felt free. I felt like I could breathe again. My phone started blowing up almost immediately. Text after text from her. Long paragraphs about how I was giving up on us. How I was heartless for leaving over nothing. How every relationship requires work and I was just running away. How she thought I loved her. How she couldn't believe I could be so cold. I read them. All. Every single one. And with each message, I felt more certain I'd made the right choice. Because even now, even after I'd clearly explained why I was leaving, she was still making it about me failing her test. She was still refusing to take any responsibility for creating impossible situations. She was still the victim in a story where she deliberately set me up to fail. I blocked her number. I blocked her on Instagram, Facebook, all of it. I logged out of social media entirely for a while because I didn't want to see if she was posting about me. I didn't want to know if there were more black screens with cryptic captions. I didn't want to be drawn back into that world of coded messages and hidden meanings. My friends have been supportive, mostly. A few of them think I overreacted. They say 9 months is a significant investment and maybe I should have tried harder to make it work. But the ones who really know me, the ones who saw how stressed I'd been for the past few months, they get it. They've told me I look happier. More relaxed. More like myself again. Because that's the thing about relationships like that. They change you. They make you constantly anxious, constantly second-guessing yourself, constantly trying to be perfect enough to pass the next test. You don't even realize how much energy you're spending on it until you stop. Until you step away and feel how much lighter life can be without that weight. I don't hate her. I want to be clear about that. I think she's probably hurting, and I'm sorry about that. I think she probably genuinely believes that her way of communicating is normal, that testing partners through social media is just how relationships work in the age of Instagram and Snapchat. I think she's probably telling all her friends right now about her heartless ex-boyfriend who dumped her over nothing. But it wasn't. Nothing. It was everything. It was a pattern of behavior that was never going to change unless she wanted it to. It was a fundamental incompatibility in how we view communication and trust. It was me choosing to not spend my life solving puzzles just to prove I care. I want peace in my relationships. I want honesty. I want direct communication where if something's wrong, we talk about it face to face, with real words, without games. I want to be able to go to work without worrying that I'm failing some invisible test. I want to be able to not check social media for a few hours without it being a relationship crime. I want to be with someone who sees me as a partner, not a contestant on some reality show where I'm constantly being evaluated on my performance. Someone who understands that love isn't about passing tests, it's about showing up honestly and communicating openly. Maybe that makes me cold. Maybe that makes me emotionally unavailable. Or maybe it just makes me someone who knows what I need and isn't willing to settle for less. I'm 26 years old. I just ended a 9-month relationship over a black screen on Instagram. And I've never felt more certain about anything in my life. Because that black screen wasn't really about Instagram. It was about respect. About communication. About whether I was willing to spend my life walking on eggshells and solving riddles just to avoid the next fight. And the answer is no. I'm not. I'm done with tests. Done with games. Done with stories written in invisible ink that I'm expected to decode while someone sits there waiting to see if I love them enough to notice. I want something real. Something simple. Something where we just talk to each other like adults. And if that's too much to ask, then I'd rather be alone.